What's up, guys? This is Dustin with MiniSplit Surplus. We're going to kind of go through how to set up your MiniSplit today. You'll need the vacuum pump and gauge set, which you can get at Harbor Freight. Now, everything you'll see, you're going to have the head unit, your line set, your drain tube, signal wire, everything you need to set up your own MiniSplit. So first thing I'm doing, I'm setting the head unit up. I'm going to take the bracket off the back. I'm going to set it on the wall, and we're going to go from there. Right now, you want to make sure that you have a decent amount of headspace above where you're mounting your unit. Make sure it is level, completely level. If not, it will drain on the inside. Right now, what I'm using, these are the easiest things I've found. Butterfly anchors. They're 3/16. And basically, I like these because I don't have to find studs in the wall. I can just send them wherever I find is best. I use, a 5/8 drill, make the hole. Biggest thing with this, starting everything and getting it tight. So that way you don't crank them and lose them in the wall. I've done that a couple times. You can set one side, not too tight that you can't move it, then come back, tighten your other side up. Make sure everything's completely level again. Now we're going to find out where we're drilling our hole. So what we do is you want to take center of the bracket where it's going to be mounted. You'll measure over and then up. Center of where this line set's going to bend over, because we're going to completely bend it over and send it straight out the wall. So we're going to come over from center 5.5. You'll see from the bracket we're going to go over 5.5 inches. Make sure you're coming over level. It was 2.5 inches up from that mark. So now you're going to send your hole. I like to use a long drill bit. This way I can get it completely through the wall and I can have my angle. This is the biggest part. If you do not send this through with an angle, you will have drainage problems. I just take a 2.5 inch hole saw. Get it right through the first half on the first side of the wall. So that way you can check for any electrical, anything that might be behind the wall, hidden that you might not have seen before. Now you can come through to the other side, cut through. You can see the angle. It's a decent slope, so that way we don't have any issues with drainage. We're gonna hook up our signal cable. I tape the end of it to be able to pull it through this tiny space. We're gonna pop the head unit completely open, take off the little cover panel. It's a little Phillips screw. This little chart is the wiring diagram. If you ever forget, you got a little latch. So what I'm doing, I'm going to pull through the bottom just because it's easier, so I don't have to pull the whole cable through, but you can do it either way. That's why I tape the top, so I can get it through easy. I'll then just take everything off and hook all the wires up. I like to loosen them up a little bit, set them in there. With the wiring, it's going to be brown, blue, ground, gray, black. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You will have to take the ground screw completely off and feed it through. It may be a little challenge, so do that one, as early as possible. Once you get everything in, put your latch back on the power cable so it doesn't move. Then you can put your cover. Make sure that your display cord, white and red, that I just tucked in, make sure that is connected and you can feed that through. Just attach your panel. What I'm doing now is I'm getting ready to bend my line set completely over so I can get everything ready to send through the wall. I just hold the little 90 and I bend it over just gently. As long as you're careful with it, there's no issues. I'm kind of getting it to fold in so it'll fold flat against the wall. Now this is where I'm gonna take the drain tube, your line set, signal wire, and attach them all together. We're gonna take the vinyl tape. We're gonna wrap this probably 6 inches. We're gonna wrap everything together so that way it all is one through the wall. We don't have anything condensating, leaking, or getting hung up when we're sticking it through. The drain line needs to be on the bottom of all of this. This is the most important part. See how it runs straight out? There's no interference, no nothing. I put the signal wire right next to that and I run it all straight out like that. We're gonna tape it up so I can feed it through a little easier at the end. Now I'm gonna vinyl tape this probably 6-8 inches. This is gonna be so this doesn't condensate in your wall, doesn't leak, doesn't do anything like that. Popping off the side piece so we can run the power cord because we're just running it off the side of the head. You want to run it on the side where your power is. So I'll pick up all my cables and my unit, and now since the bracket and everything is set, I'm ready to hang the unit and send my line set through. I'll feed my signal wire completely through. Then because I tape the end, it makes it a lot easier to feed it through the hole. Nothing gets hung up. It just makes life a lot easier. Everything lines up, it just clicks. So now with our line set completely through the wall, we want to make sure that it is still at a slight angle and our drain tube and everything is still on the bottom. We're going to hook up our drain tube. I just bend these with my hand about a fist width apart from the wall so that way I can get back here and wrap this all later. I like to bend it with my hand at just a gradual slope. I've tried using the benders and they've bent it, kinked it because it's normally such a tight angle. Just be careful with this. Now with everything set, I'm just setting my compressor to see where my line sets are going to run. Right now I'm going to take the cap off and you'll probably hear. Yep, if you don't hear anything, don't use it. There's a leak. I use the 1/4 inch line first because I use it to get my template to run my big line. It makes it easier because you already know how far everything needs to be. I just clean off both ends, make sure it's a clean contact, set it, and I like to hand tighten it completely so that way I know that it's set on there straight. I just use 2 adjustables. Make sure that you are anchoring the top and not letting it spin. Just crank it on there. Now with the little line set and ran, I can kind of mess with the big line. This one is a little more work just because it's a thicker line, and so you do need to be a little more careful with it. So I found it to be easiest with all of it out of the way. You just mock it all up. That way we can get it all set, tightened, and taped up. So I do the same thing. Sit it on there flat, hand tighten it all the way, and this is where you have to kind of hold both tubes once you get it tight to be able to bend the line set over right after the flare, so that way you don't kink anything and you have a nice bend. Again, just crank both those lines tight. I use adjustables again. Now everything's tight. I'm going to tape it all up so that way I can get it ready to wrap up. I tape the lines together because they're going to condensate. So now I'm making sure the drain tube is on the bottom of all this, not interrupted by anything. And I'm going to try to make this just flow as much as possible. Once I get it all set, I'll tape it up. That way I can then run the signal wire with it all in line. Making sure, again, the drain tube is on the back of everything. The drain tube is the most important thing. That way it isn't interrupted by anything. So I'm just going to take the signal wire slack, run it in line so that way you won't see any of it once we're done. Just kind of clean it all up. Now once I get everything taped up, I'm going to use the vinyl tape that comes with the kit. I'm going to start at the tape where I taped it so that way it covers it. You can't really see it once it's done. I'm going to go up just all loosely, get it all together, and then I'm going to come back down the entire run. This will get to be a little bit of a pain. This is why you want the compressor out of the way, so that way you can get to it as easy as possible. Try not to also do it in the middle of the day if you don't have to. I like to tape it all the way up to the drain, let my drain hang out so that way I can run it and cut it later. Now I'm just going to tape everything together. That way it protects it as much as possible. At the end, I just tape it up, make sure it's all smooth, and then I leave some space so that way I can bend the line sets to the unit. If you go too far to the end, you won't be able to bend them and get them where you need to be, and you'll be cutting back the tape. I like to have the line set come straight down the wall, have the run be behind the compressor so that way it isn't seen as much as possible. With these, you do need to be careful and bend it as easy as you can. 2 hands. You will twist the caps out. Try to leave these on as long as possible. That way you don't get any moisture, humidity in the line. Same as the top. Make sure everything's clean. Make sure it's flat. Tighten it all the way up with your hand, and then you're going to tighten it with your wrenches. And I'll do them both together. I just want to get both line sets ran. Right now it's just a bunch of finesse. You're just making the line sets nice and wherever you want them to go, so that way same thing with the little line. Make sure it's clean, tight, put it flat. tighten it with hand. Crank her tight. So you can take your other adjustable, put it on the outside brass cap to give you a little bit of leverage to just crank her on there. I do it for both of them. Just make sure they're good and tight. I tighten up these outside caps because we're going to pull a vacuum next. We're going to do that later. So I'm taking off the end cap. Right now we're going to pop the side off where we attach our 5-wire, just like we did on the inside. Same thing's going to apply. 5-wire. We're going to take all the blue shields, just pop them off. This is going to be the order: brown, blue, green, yellow, gray, purple, black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the order. Be careful not to drop any of those screws into the compressor. Everything's tight, hooked up. Put the cover back on. That's just a little diagram, again, of the wiring. Now we'll take our vacuum pump, gauge set. All this is stuff you can get at Harbor Freight. All we'll need is 110 volt power for the pump. We got our gauge set, and this is our 410A adapter. This is going to be what you need for the MiniSplit. And if you bought the unit from me, I most likely have given it to you. Just make sure everything's nice and tight, because now we're going to pull a vacuum. We're going to hook it up. I had a little bit of issue with this being a new gauge set and the seal not seating completely the first time, so you might have to screw it on there and take it off once or twice. Make sure it is really tight, so that way you get a proper vacuum and a proper reading when we hold the vacuum. So we'll take our yellow set, attach it to our vacuum, because all we're doing is pulling straight through. We'll turn our vacuum on, and then we're going to open our line. What that's doing is just allowing it to pull vacuum from the MiniSplit out the line and through the vacuum. So now we're going to let this run for 15 minutes. Then we're going to cut it off and hold it. So it gets down, what, 25, 26-ish is what it goes down to. So I'll close it off, turn the vacuum pump off. I'll remove the yellow line. So I'm going to put it in line so that way I can open it and use the gauge to tell me if it will leak. So right now I'm opening it and it's falling back to where it was. You might lose a degree or two. because you're going to lose that in the line from it filling it. So now this is where I'm going to hold it to make sure that the entire system is sealed before releasing the Freon. 30 minutes, then come back. I'm cleaning it up, just waiting. Everything held. So we can take everything, close it off, take it off the system, and we know the system's good. And then now we can turn it on and get ready to release the Freon. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to pop the brass caps off the side. I'm getting ready to release the Freon. I'm going to make sure now that the unit has power. So I'm going to set the remote up, put the batteries in. This comes with the head unit. This is going to be what we need to turn it on. Now we're just going to hook it up to 110 volt power. We just have it hooked up to an extension cord for the video. We're going to hold up and down on the remote for 8 seconds to change it to Fahrenheit. We're going to turn it down. I like to turn it down to around 68 just to get the compressor to kick on faster. What we're doing is making sure that the inside unit is on and running. And now we want the compressor to turn on and run. Now it kicked on. Sometimes it'll be 1 to 3 minutes. What you do now, once both units are on and running, you can open up the Freon. I got a little 3-way bike tool from my bike days. I'm going to open the high side little line first. I'm going to back it all the way out to the set ring. Then I'm going to come up to the low side. I'm going to open that up, back that out to the set ring. And then I'm going to tighten all the brass caps, make sure they're all very tight. And now what we're going to do is just let the unit run. With the kit, there's a little bag of screws. 2 screws will go in this outside cap to cover everything up. Put that on, and at this time your compressor should already be bolted in. What I'm doing now is setting up your drain line. You can run it out so that way it isn't draining on your house or wherever. With your hole now on the outside, I like to just fill it with spray foam. I like to make sure it's sealed. You can't get in. Before it's dry, I like to wipe it off so that way it bubbles out flat. That way you can cut it off and it'll be nice and smooth. Inside, you got your filters. You pop these things out. You clean them. It's best to kind of do this every month. Ours have been getting kind of dirty more frequently than we thought, so I'd say about every month, pop them out, clean them out. Now the unit's on, running, and we're seeing what temp it gets down to. We have it set at 67. Right now it's just getting down to 40. The unit has been running for about 5 minutes now to get down to this. It didn't take long. So hopefully that helps. If there's anything else I can do, let me know. That's about 5 minutes worth of running too. It's already draining, so you've got to make sure that that drain is hooked up properly and at a proper slope, because if not, that'll all be inside your house.